much for doing this. Question about China and let's do the WHO. So on China, we've heard a similar talking point, as you know, from CGTN to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs podium, that the U.S. Had months of warning that it squandered. We noticed a new tweet from MOFA that suggests the U.S. is engaged in a conspiracy. So could you tell us, is the rhetorical ceasefire, as we've been talking about, that the president declared over? And on WHO, you've been criticized on the freeze. Number 2 funder of WHO, Bill Gates, has criticized it. China, as you know, has inserted more money. WHO does things that no one else does around the world, as you know, measles campaigns, for example. Are you concerned at all that the freeze will reduce influence over the WHO and reduce your ability to conduct the reforms that you're looking at?
Mm-hmm. So your first question, what we do is speak the truth about risk to the American people. Our mission set at the State Department is to protect the American people from threats around the world. So the information we provide about where this virus began in Wuhan is just data. You suggested that the Chinese MFA and CGTN and other Chinese media outlets are saying the same thing. I'll leave it at that. Suffice it to say is that when countries engage in disinformation, it creates risk. The Chinese Communist Party tells us they want to be our partners, they want to be transparent. We need partners we can rely on, that when they tell us something, it is accurate and that we don't think they're hiding anything. Look, we still haven't gained access, the world hasn't gained access to the WIV, the Virology Institute there. We don't know precisely where this virus originated from. There are multiple labs that are continuing to conduct work, we think, on contagious pathogens inside of China today, and we don't know if they are operating at a level of security to prevent this from happening again. Remember, this isn't the first time that we've had a virus come out of China. And so there is a continuing obligation on the part of reliable partners to share this information with the world. We talk about this in the context of nuclear assurance all the time, where countries permit others to come in and see their systems to make sure that the locks and keys are right, that the security levels are right, that the technological capability is right, that the checks are right, so that you can prevent an accidental nuclear release. We need the same kinds of processes for biosystems and biolaboratories as well. And so we would urge every country, all of our partners, to demand that we get answers for what happened here, but also that we continue to we get the transparency, that the world gets the transparency it needs to make sure that those who are conducting scientific research on complex viruses and pathogens are doing so in a way that doesn't create the risk that we get precisely the economic devastation and the enormous loss of life that we've all suffered as a result of this virus that came out of Wuhan, China.
And the WHO?
WHO, we're going to get this right. We're the biggest contributor to the World Health Organization. It failed in its mission here, and so we're conducting a review to figure out how best to use American taxpayer money to deliver real outcomes. Trump administration has been clear. I've given speeches about this. We engage in multilateral work all across the world. We're doing so even this morning. I was on the phone talking about our work with countries around the world on Venezuela. We built out a Defeat ISIS coalition of 90-plus countries. We're happy to work with countries around the world to deliver real outcomes that deliver security for the American people. We shouldn't pretend that because some organization has health in its title, that it's actually capable of delivering the outcomes that we need. I think about this in the context of the ICC, the International Criminal Court. It's a politicized organization, not a court. We want to make sure that we're getting it right so that we can deliver outcomes for the American people. And the same holds true here. We'll conduct our review. We'll evaluate this. If there is a function that only the WHO can do, and we think it is important for American national security because we are good humanitarian partners around the world, I'm confident we'll find a way to deliver that outcome. And so I just urge everyone, there's private donors who contribute to the WHO, always ask, is this the best model? Is this really the right outcome? When you see the influence that the Chinese Communist Party had as they were debating how to handle this virus in January of this year, and when you think about those things and the risks that those pose to the world, it is an obligation to reconsider whether that vehicle is the right one to deliver pandemic response systems for the world.
Okay, last question, Kylie.
I'm just wondering,
Morning, Kelly.
given
the reliance on China when it comes to medical supplies and that supply chain, which obviously those supplies are desperately needed in the U.S. right now. Does the Trump administration have to wait until this healthcare crisis in the United States is over before you can actually talk about the specifics of inflicting a price on China, as you have repeatedly said this administration will do?
Our first priority, unambiguously, is to address the crisis in which we find ourselves as a direct result of this virus that came out of Wuhan, China. That's been the Vice President's task force focus. It's been our State Department's focus on both the side of doing our best to understand what happened there as well as getting the American people back. This is a moment. We've got to get it right. We've then got to get the economy cranked back up. There'll be ample time to evaluate how it is we hold accountable those responsible for the loss of what is now tens of thousands of American lives and enormous amount of wealth, not only American wealth, but the global economy's devastation as a result of this virus. There'll be a time for this. We'll get that timing right. And as President Trump said when he took office, we're no longer going to tolerate a non-reciprocal behavior from the Chinese government. We saw it first in trade. We said we want it free, we want it abundant, and we want it reciprocal. He drove towards that. He got a phase one trade deal. We were hopeful we could move out on the second part of that as well. And that'll ultimately be the decision of the Chinese Communist Party. Are they prepared to engage in trade in a way that is fair and reciprocal? The last thing I'll say is, overnight I saw comments from the Chinese Foreign Ministry talking about a coercive activity with respect to Australia, who had the temerity to ask for an investigation. Who in the world wouldn't want an investigation of how this happened to the world? I assume the people of China, they're good people. There's doctors, scientists there. Imagine if those scientists and doctors were working in our system, in a free system where you put hypothesis forward and it was challenged, but you had the freedom to talk and publish papers and others could comment. And this is what democracies do best. The solution to this crisis will come from freedom-loving people around the world. I'm very confident of that. Authoritarian regimes are poorly designed to deal with the kind of crisis that this pandemic has engendered. Democracies where we're free to critique and comment and you can ask the Secretary of State a hard question. These are the kinds of places where scientists and freedom and thought and journalists can all operate freely. These are the societies that will deliver the right outcome, will deliver the therapeutics, will deliver the vaccines, will get the right outcome to get our economies back going again. I'm highly confident of that. This is where we see the true benefit of freedom and liberty. And in the days and weeks and months ahead, I am confident that the world will see that as well.
Can I ask you
Thanks,
one question
everybody.
about the
Thanks for being
Chinese
with me this
labs?
morning. Everybody have a good day.